Are potting soil companies using dirty tricks to fill your bags with scrap wood? Today's video, we're going to take a look at the science behind why forest byproducts may be number one on the label of ingredients. And yes, this is a response video or an additional video, I guess you could say, to Millennial Gardener's video. And the only reason I'm making this video is because the amount of DMs I've gotten on this topic is enormous, asking me to comment. And I think it goes without saying, I've said that many a time, that Miracle-Gro or any of these cheaper potting soil mixes are exactly that. They are a entry-level cheap potting soil mix, and they are not quality. And there are two very different types of potting soil mixes. There is kind of that entry-level cheap stuff, and then there is premium potting soil mixes where you're not going to find this forest byproduct in it. But let's talk about why the forest byproduct is in there, what the method to their madness is, because while I'm sure some of it has a lot to do with what is in Millennial Gardener's video, I agree with majority of what he's saying. There are some science-based reasons for why these companies are choosing to do this, whether you like it or not, in an effort to try to lower the cost of their product and keep the selling price as close to what it was years ago, despite the rising cost of peat. So let's get into it. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science, which shockingly enough has absolutely nothing to do with potting soil. Potting soil actually is a media scientist. Now, I do have contacts in the world of media science, and I actually have them from all different competition areas, only because I spent some time in the Peat Moss Association in Canada, the Sphagnum Peat Moss Association of Canada. And in that, there's a massive conglomerate with a lot of people involved. Miracle-Gro is actually not one of them. However, I have had discussions with these people, media scientists, about why they choose the ratios of coconut coirs or compost or peat moss, or even just why compost quality seems to change or peat mass quality tends to change, all that sort of stuff, and all the science and the thought that goes behind the potting soil that you ultimately end up purchasing. So while I can speak intelligently about what all these other companies are doing, particularly the Canadian ones, I can assume or put some assumptions into why a product like Miracle-Gro is doing what they're doing. But I don't have direct contact with anyone at Miracle-Gro to really clarify any of this. So I'm kind of piecemealing this together based on some of my conversations with media scientists, which are soilless medium scientists, not soil scientists, if that makes sense. Arguably could very easily cross over career-wise, but technically separate with years of experience in two very different worlds. So Millennial Gardener actually shows us right off the bat that forest products or wood residues are the number one ingredient on the ingredient list for specifically the Miracle-Gro potting soil. And why this matters is because if you did not know, it doesn't matter if it is potting soil, it doesn't matter if it is a bits and bytes Chex Mix, junk food, dog food. The order in which the ingredients are listed is completely based on the amount of that product by volume, which means that forest residue is number one. It is the highest volume out of all the products in there. It is the most abundant in that bag. One thing you're going to notice is if, for example, you use Sunshine Mix number 5. I've been touting this stuff for years. I absolutely love and adore. I will die on that hill for that product. I'm not, no joke. I don't get any kickback. I don't even have an affiliate link for that company. They're just fantastic. I absolutely adore them. They're a premium potting soil mix. And if you look at their label, they're not going to have forest byproduct as number one, but Miracle-Gro, that noxious green and yellow bag, definitely does. You find it at Walmart, Canadian Tire, Home Depots, that sort of thing. So what that means when we're talking about wood products is that it is not, the majority of your mix is not derived from compost, is not derived from peat, it is not derived from perlite. is derived from bark and sticks and twigs and, wood shavings, you name it. Now, what this does mean, the Millennial Gardener gets this right as well, is that there does seem to be a massive shift in the products that we get away from peat-based to just forest-based stuff, aka wood-heavy mixes. And I think gardeners deserve to know, does this ultimately affect my plant's performance? And it can. Depending on what application you're using this in some cases, it actually won't. So we're going to talk about that. So forest byproducts, or wood residue, is actually a catch-all label that is legally allowed to be used. Now, the scientific definition of this from media science is that it includes bark fines, wood chips, ground wood fibers, sawdust, partially composted forest residue, that's where you see like the leaves and stuff in there, and then engineered wood fiber, aka mechanically shredded stuff. So that's kind of what that word encompasses. The volumes or the ratios of what you're going to get of those 6 categories completely dependent on the product you're getting. Probably completely dependent on the bag you're getting, to be totally honest, because it probably differs bag to bag. And that's a really common issue we see with a lot of bagged soils, is that the levels of stuff changes depending on the batch. That's why oftentimes there's a way to track the batches, because media scientists, they get a whole bunch of calls saying like, hey, this is nuking my garden. They need to be able to figure out why. And it usually goes back to that batch number being a bad batch. So yes, you can end up with a bag that you're like, oh yeah, this isn't bad. The next bag you buy, you'd be like, this is absolute garbage. It's because the lot numbers are totally different. And it's because they can't buy necessarily everything from one supplier. When they buy it from the supplier, depends on, the processing that's been done, etc. and so forth. So there's high variability there. That doesn't go for just the wood products. It goes for the peat, the coir, the compost, you name it. Now, the problem with this and the fact that this catch-all phrase is actually technically 6 different components has to do with the fact that they all decompose at drastically different rates. They all have drastically different water holding capacities. They all have drastically different nitrogen demands and even structure. And so it chemically, physically, and biologically are different. All 6 of them are different. And the ratios in which you get will change all 3 of those factors and how that potting soil, it actually interacts with each other. So here's something I'm sure all of you have experienced if you've gone the cheaper potting soil route. Wood chips. This is a hydrophobic material. This is why wood chips float. If you've ever gotten a bag of Miracle-Gro, you went to soak it and you see all these wood chips float to the top, that is a hydrophobic material. It's not good at absorbing water. This makes it very slow to break down and decompose, meaning it is kind of in situ, stealing nitrogen, but adding to the porosity of the soil long term. The next one is bark fines. So this is that really stringy looking stuff. This technically usually is hydrophilic, meaning it has a high capacity for holding on to water. It does help to improve drainage and also decomposes a little bit quicker. The sawdust component is actual literal nightmare fuel. That is because it has a massive nitrogen drawdown, meaning it has a very high surface area. And this high surface area can mean it's hydrophobic or hydrophilic, depending on the moisture level in that sawdust. Usually, in my experience, it's hydrophobic. And then that surface area, in turn, actually makes for a massive depletion in nitrogen or available nitrogen for your plant. Now, the worst part about this is you can't sift out the sawdust. So Millennial Gardener, again, I really encourage you to go check out that video because it's very good. He discusses this. He talks about getting a sifter and actually sifting out the larger bits and bobs. And he's speaking specifically to seed starting because it is incredibly important that you have a potting soil that is finer for seed starting. I have a whole video coming out on that, so go check that out. But ultimately speaking, you can sift and all that sawdust is still going to end up in your potting soil. So the problem with that is that you still have a massive nitrogen drawdown, even though you've sifted everything out. And that shows up in so many different shapes and forms. Shapes and forms? Forms and shape? What's the saying? Anyways, whatever it may be. It shows up in many different ways. And as a new gardener, it can be incredibly frustrating because it can cause like an immediate destruction of your seedling. And you probably won't know why. And it actually has a lot to do with the sawdust inside of your potting soil mix. Very nefarious, if you ask me. So, us gardeners, we're seeing this as a bad thing. We're seeing this as a filler. We're seeing this as, shrinkflation or like reduction in quality to help keep things cheaper. The industry, if you were to ask them, they're going to have a totally different response. And if you're new to this channel, surprise, I cover all sides. It's unbiased. So I'm going to cover the gardener's thoughts and feelings, which is what we just did. Now I'm going to talk about the company's thoughts and feelings. Now, whether or not you agree with these thoughts and feelings, completely up to you. But ultimately, this is probably what they're saying in their boardrooms rather than screw the gardener. Because I don't think that's their intent. Well, it shouldn't be if they want customers, but I'm sure this is actually the discussion that they're having. So number one is that they are looking at peat. Peat is controversial. It is deemed environmentally not friendly. The product in question here, Miracle-Gro, is not a part of the CSPM, the Canadian Sphagnum Moth Association. So they actually aren't a part of the association that is involved with ethical peat harvesting. So there's that. And so the idea here is to reduce the amount of peat. If peat isn't the number one ingredient, then you're a little less bad, I guess you could say. Would probably be number one. Number two is that they are trying to keep costs lower, but they aren't trying to do this nefariously. Wood byproducts or forest products are actually utilized in even premium potting soil mixes for a reason. So there's four big things. Number one, increased porosity. We've talked about this on the channel many a times, but soil is made out of three main components. Porosity, which is the space in which your soil particulate is not occupying. And inside of your porosity is where your air and your water hang out. So you want a higher soil porosity because this allows for roots to breathe, for bacteria and decomposing microbes to actually breathe and live. So that is beneficial. The idea is more porosity. Idea two, it's kind of similar, but it's just more air-filled space. So the reason why this is separate from porosity on my list is because the hydrophobic components actually help to deliver more air into the system solely because they're hydrophobic, meaning the water can't occupy that space, only air can. We have a reduced weight factor. So peat is very fine material, which makes it bulkier and denser. So like, for example, this is a very dead plant. So I'm about to expose myself, but like that's dense. That's a very dense material. And so the idea is to avoid that clumping with the utilization of the wood products. And then we also have increased bulk. So just general fluff, if you will. The size of the product is bigger. Now, professional mixes. So ProMix, SunGrow. We also have Burger. All of these are professional mixes. They are more expensive. They are finer material. It's very rare that you're going to see a stick inside of a ProMix or a Sunshine Mix bag. And the reason for that is because they have engineered products inside of it. So if you look at it, it's still going to say forest byproduct or wood byproduct, but what they're doing is they're actually making a really fine material and they're mixing that into it, not in the same volumes that we see with some of these other companies, but it's still there, it's still present, and that's why it's present, or that's how it's present, I guess. So the wood itself is not necessarily the problem, it's the amount of processing that's gone into the wood. So if you look at a Miracle-Gro mix, and you look at a Sunshine Mix number 4, on its face value, it looks like the Miracle-Gro mix is going to have a lot more wood byproduct than peat. And the Pro Mix or the Sunshine Mix number 4 is going to look like it has nothing but peat. But the reality is if we were to really break it down and dissect it, it may actually be very similar by volume solely because this was properly engineered in a way in regards to the mixes of the forest mix and how they are processed to make it nicer for your plant, essentially. So many YouTubers, Millennial Gardener, for example, is considering this a scam or nefarious. And this is one of those industry doing industry type things. Scientifically speaking, they are legally using the correct verbiage, wood byproduct or forest product or wood product, whatever the case is. they're using the correct verbiage. They legally do not need to differentiate between the processing that takes place, whether it's a premium or a poor mix. That is up to the gardener to determine or to do their research on what's a premium mix versus just like a regular mix. And in the case of Miracle-Gro, it's a regular mix that is having more wood products in it, but may not have more wood product than, for example, that Jiffy product that he shows on that channel, which, by the way, totally agree with him. That is one of the best seed starting mixes out there on planet Earth, but it still has wood product in it. The reason why it's still a superior product is because the way that it's processed. So the Miracle-Gro in particular is 100% right. It will kill your plants, particularly seedlings. And the reason why it's going to kill your plants and your seedlings is because it is too porous and it is hydrophobic. This results in poor moisture content or inconsistent moisture content, nitrogen drawdown, fungus gnat heaven, because it's just the nature of that bag, hydrophobic soil, and hydrophobic soil crust. So you oftentimes will see a crust with this one as well. So because we are going into seed starting season, here's what I want you to look for, because now I've probably confused you by saying that, like, yeah, just because there's like obviously, leaves and twigs and stuff are bad and you can sift those out, doesn't necessarily mean the product that you end up with is good for seedlings, because it could have sawdust, or in the case of, a Jiffy mix, how much of that is actually, wood product, whatever the case is. So here's what you're going to want to do. Number one is you're going to want to give it a sniff. So you want to smell for woodsy. If it smells woodsy and it doesn't smell soil or dirt-like, that is your sign number one, that is probably higher in the wood content. Number two is how much of that stuff is floating when you put water in it. So you get a clear container, a clear ice cream pail bucket, or like even just a bottle like this. You put some soil in it, you put some water in it. How much of that soil is sitting at the bottom and how much of that is floating on top of the water? If more than 50% of that is floating on top of the water, it's very likely that despite the fact that you don't have entire twigs in there, you still have a wood type product. And so what you want to do is you want to focus on nitrogen fertilizer. So normally I don't tell you to fertilize for your seedlings because it's not necessary at all. But the nitrogen drawdown is so high in some of these products that it actually can cause a lot of issues. So the way to counteract that is with a light nitrogen fertilizer. The idea here is that the wood fibers are high in carbon, low in nitrogen, and therefore the microbes don't have the nitrogen they need to be able to decompose those products. So the best way to ensure that the plant gets nitrogen along with those microbes get nitrogen to help with that decomposition is to ensure you're fertilizing with some nitrogen. So that's number one way to kind of counteract that. If you detect or you suspect something's a little bit off, or your ingredients list is showing wood products as number one, but otherwise their product looks completely fine. If you're simply putting this into containers, or maybe you're just like adding organic material to a raised bed, you don't have to go through and sift out these wood bark products. You can just leave them in place. The only time you may want to consider some amending or looking at it is if it kind of looks dry and clumpy, or like kind of like a cat litter. That's a sign of just way too much wood product in it. And so therefore you may want to intervene with some kind of level that out. I'm not going to get into too much the seed starting mixes and what those should look like, because I'm going to do a separate video on that, because that is literally an entire topic unto itself. It's completely separate than just container gardening or even bumping up into a soil. So it's something that just needs to be explored on its own, if you will. So I'm going to do a separate video for that. But ultimately speaking, if you wanted to use this or you just don't want to watch that video, go check out Millennial Gardener's video where he talks about sifting it out, making it nice and fine, all that sort of stuff. He's right on the mark with that. I think it's safe to say that wood isn't trickery. The whole forest byproduct maybe isn't trickery. I think it's vagueness is the issue, because again, you get very drastically different mixes from bag to bag. And so I think that may be the source of our frustration as gardeners. Like I said, go check out Millennial Gardener's video. It's really good. His editing and everything is a lot better than mine, so I feel like you're probably going to enjoy it more than this one. Anyways, for all of you out there that are now calling me an industry plant, hello, hi. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, because I got a lot of more industry plant type videos out there. If you just enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button. If you're on the Geek Crew, hi, I love you. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.